Okay, you're on.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on.
Are you on? Or is it just me?
Just you?
And you're not on?
Nope.
You're both on.
Patsy says you're both on. Good evening. Hang on now. Let me get this thing going over here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Here we go. This looks like it's working right now. Senator Kahele is on. Oh my goodness. Aloha, Senator. Good evening. Hang on now. Let me get this thing going over here. Oh, that's me.
Yep.
Where did that come from? Okay, let's see. Here we go. Get my comments rolling. Okay, here we go. Aloha, fellas. All right, here we go. Here we go. Awesome, awesome. Hey, aloha, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to our COVID discussion, as we do every night on this wonderful Saturday evening. Charlie and I was having an offline discussion, so excuse the laughter. I'm still laughing. I wish you guys could all share in our pre and post show discussions. I think you folks would have a kick. But anyway, welcome again tonight. Tonight we have a very special guest with us. Brendon Lee will be the vice chair of OHA's Office of Hawaiian Affairs Board of Trustees. And he's going to be sharing with us about OHA. You know, I think many of us don't know the difference between OHA, Hawaiian Homes, and all of the different beneficiary organizations. So I think it'll be an interesting evening, as well as talking about what OHA is trying to do as we move forward through this crisis. So I notice we're having a lot of people coming on. We got him coming on in a little bit. Charles, how was your day, man? You guys went out and
today? Well, Stephanie went over. They did the food drive again. The good folks down in Kikaha prepared the hamburger. They made hot dishes for anyone and everyone that needed food. And I like to say that in these troubled times, when we give, you give from the heart, right? And I just hoping and praying that all organizations. I know there's a lot of people, but if you get a family of 8, and I know you can only give 2, but if you get 8, come on, show a little aloha, give them for you, because you got little ones there, they crying, and everybody trying to do the best they can. And another thing too, I notice is that it takes a lot for somebody to ask for a handout, because we get pride. But right now, I'm gonna tell everybody out there, that of anybody, whenever you see these food drives or we passing out anything, do me a favor and tell your friends, put the pride aside. I would rather you have food. I'd rather you get something healthy to eat. I'd rather you have something with you, okay? I don't care about the pride. The pride not going to feed your family. Okay, so just tell your friends, put the pride aside. And that's what we're there for. We're there to help. But today, I wasn't feeling too good, Brother Mel. Thanks to your beautiful wife, Patsy. I ate the last of the mango, but I ran up, so I'm going to cut up with some Japanese cucumber inside, and I was drinking the sauce the other day. And Sharon Snugs, Troy's lovely wife, said that maybe it was too much of the orange rose. I said, yeah, in conjunction with the orange rose. Yep. So I was on humid garbage machine, and guess what? Everything went back up, and was miserable today. Yoo-hoo!
Talk about some TMI. Woo! That Shiro or the sauce from the pickled mango is potent. That stuff kills corona. I mean, that thing is that strong.
I wrote to the president. I tell him, how's about injecting this? I guarantee you're gonna kill something. But not only did it kill my taste buds, but your gastric juices in your stomach is there to break down the food, right?
Right.
This thing will kill my gastric juices. Now I know more gastric juices.
I tell you. Hey, the we're gonna have a little bit more coming up pretty soon, but just stay away from the sauce, man. Just eat the mango in moderation, Charlie. In
Now,
moderation.
you know Hawaiians, when you get sauce, you feel like the world coming to the end, so you gotta drink them.
Oh, I know.
And that's what happened. I said, okay, we get overtaken by zombies. I'm gonna drink them because I don't know if tomorrow is never promised. But the sad thing is, I survived till tomorrow, and I was sore, man. I was sore.
All right. Well, let's get started. Brendon's in the waiting room. We'll bring him in a minute. Just wanted to let everybody know right now, guys, hit the share button, start a watch party. Do that for us. Let's get this thing to go all over the place. We got Senator Kochi, we got Senator Kahele, and a whole bunch of you guys. Thanks again for joining us tonight. So hit the share button, start a watch party, and help us get the word out. And then, of course, Charlie, the shirt.
Yes. Flatten the curve.
$760 today. Yeah, we're getting close to our goal. $10. Kirk Correa, as you know, donated the shirts, donated all. He's doing all of this stuff for us. $10. Just message me in the private messenger. Don't put it in the comments. Private message me if you want a shirt or 2 or 3. One lady bought 6, and yeah, we'll get the shirts delivered to you. West Side guys, we're coming out on Monday. We're gonna be delivering it to you guys on Monday. But $10, no one makes a penny except the Hawaii Community Foundation. They will get a check at the end of all of this for total proceeds. And then we got an angel donor today that gave us that's in addition to the 760, gave us $250 to provide shirts for all of our guests that show up on our show. So all of the guests are going to be getting a shirt complimentary of our angel donor. Thank you very much, Mr. Angel. So with that, Charlie, you want to go ahead and introduce Mr. Lee?
Yes, well, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are very fortunate to have the vice chairman of OHA. Let me take you back. He's been like our son for Stephanie and I. We've known him for years now, and his name is Brendon Lee. Now, for those of you that may or may not know him, his sister was Miss Universe Brooke Lee. I represented Hawaii. Okay, so he will be joining us tonight. Very Akamai boy, very Akamai. His sister was Miss Universe Brooke Lee. Yes, very represented Hawaii.
Who is that?
Okay.
I hear.
So he will be joining.
That's Brendon. Brendon.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, Brendon's on. I know he's watching Facebook Live.
Yeah.
We just heard Facebook Live. Brendon, if you can what do you call that? Turn on your camera and we can see you a little bit. Let me see if I can do that.
I had it on. Can you guys hear me, Mel?
I can hear you, but we cannot see
it was just on. Hang on.
Sometimes you gotta back out from the Zoom and the thing gonna ask you to join video.
Yeah, that's what it did, and then it was on. Okay.
So Charlie, you can continue with your introduction while he's getting his camera.
Yeah. So this boy is, I tell you, he's a good-looking boy. I'm very proud of him. Representing, sits on the OHA board, and it's I always believe that they say that if you want to do good for your community, you put your talents where it can be most useful, and that's what he did. And he got elected to the board, and very honored that he'll be joining us today. Now, I know why he cannot get video. You're using like an old kind phone at the dial-up phone, Brendon.
No.
Now, Uncle only teasing.
Well, I'm not sure what the problem is because I'm showing in my control panel, I'm showing that your camera is actually on. So I'm not sure why.
Brendon, why don't you try do this? Why don't you try close out, leave the meeting and come back in. We'll bring you back in, okay?
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, try do that. Just you gotta shut everything down and then you're gonna come back.
All right. Yeah. So I did have a chance to chat with him this morning a little bit. Very knowledgeable guy. Very Akamai as it relates to OHA and how OHA. And then we're going to start off. He's going to give us an overview of how OHA came about and what was the mandate pre-state of Hawaii when we were still a territory. So I'm still seeing him on. Are you still there, Brendon?
No. He uh-oh.
What?
No, I see that icon, the camera icon.
Yeah, I see that. I'm not sure what's going on here.
So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, while we're waiting, we're gonna let him get out and come back in to our Zoom meeting so we can have him up on the screen here. Okay, now he's out.
Yeah, so while we're waiting for him, we just want to go over here real quick, and I mean, we'll talk about this probably tomorrow night, but the governor extended the stay-at-home order today till May 31st. I know that's causing a lot of frustration in the community. So we'll definitely have that discussion tomorrow night. We want to reserve tonight to learn about OHA and what OHA is doing, but yeah, I don't know, Charlie, what's your thoughts? I think, people we've been stuck at home for a while, and
I
as
think,
as we watch the visitors come in, it's for many, it feels like we continue to be punished, and yet
Exactly.
these visitors are allowed to continue to come in rather than, hey, hold back the tourists and let the local residents start living again. If we isolate the tourists, then we can open up business. We can start going out. We can start patronizing the businesses again because we can. And so I think that's the frustration right now.
Well, you said it. It almost feels that we're in a penalty phase. I think we got to get our infrastructure back, and that starts with us, the small mom and pops. Get them back in order. Let them do what they need to do, and then get and have like a succession plan where you have steps 1, 2, 3, 4 as far as how you let the tourists back in. Hey, I'm all for having a tourist, but we need to have a plan in place should anything go sideways on us. Yep. Is that
right
him
now
knocking on the door?
Oh yeah, without the influx of tourists, I think I'm safe to go cut my hair at my barber. But once that tourist comes in, then it's a different story. So, and then I think the other component, there he is right on. Thank you, sir. The other component, Charlie, is that final part of his declaration where now the mayors needs to have permission anytime they want to change their proclamation or emergency declaration. So yeah, we'll chat about that tomorrow. So Brendon, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Brendon?
Yeah, so now you guys can see me, Mel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you get
All
that
right.
Grizzly Adams look, man. I love it.
So that happens when you don't leave the house for 2 months.
Well, good to see you, Brendon. Good to see you.
You too, Charlie. You too, Mel. Thanks for having me.
Oh man, appreciate. We got a lot of people on the call right now, live. A lot of people will be seeing this again. People, if you missed it, share it now. Press the share button. Do a watch party. Get this out because the information you'll get tonight, I promise you, will be very informative and educational. It was for me in a short time. I got to chat with this guy this morning. So, Brendon, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you could please start, obviously, short introduction, and then explain to us what is OHA, how it came about, and then we can chat about where we're going as it relates to COVID.
Okay. Mahalo again, you guys, for having me on. I heard some of the nice things Charlie was saying about me before I had to back everything out and get back in. So what OHA is OHA is a state agency that was created out of the Constitutional Convention in 1978. And our sole purpose is to better the conditions for Native Hawaiians. A lot of us that aren't to all of our history, when our kingdom was illegally overthrown, and the the Republic of Hawaii was created, when they petitioned the United States to become a territory, they turned over all of the lands that were seized by that provisional government to the United States government. And the United States government decided that it would use the proceeds from that land for certain purposes, such as housing, farming, education. And one of the things that they decided to do was to make a portion of those proceeds for the betterment of the indigenous people, so the betterment of Native Hawaiians. When the territory of Hawaii petitioned the United States to become a state, what the federal government said was, well, we don't want to deal with this anymore. So one of the conditions of statehood, so it's actually written into the Act of Statehood, is that the state of Hawaii will have to then take over all of those public land trusts, all of those ceded lands, which we today call it the public land trust, and take over all of those things for the betterment of Native Hawaiians, housing, education, farming. And one of the other stipulations was also the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. They had to take that over and run it. Even though it's still a federal program, it's administered by the state of Hawaii. So in 1978, Auntie Frenchie Di Soto and all the other Native Hawaiians that were a part of the delegates at the Constitutional Convention, they envisioned and came up with a brand new basically a branch of government in the state of Hawaii called the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, whose sole purpose was to take their portion of that pro rata share coming out of the public land trust and better the conditions of Native Hawaiians. And the reason why OHA in the Constitution says that we are semi-autonomous, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs does not answer to the legislative branch, to the executive branch, or the judicial branch. Although we still fall all under them because we're a branch of government, we're not elected. We're elected by the people. So we're not elected by legislators. It's not an appointment like a cabinet position with the executive branch. So that's what gives us our autonomy. We don't answer to any of them. Is that small enough there, Mel?
Yeah, it is. And I think a lot of the confusions, and many people confuse OHA with Hawaiian Homes, and that is a completely separate entity. And what you'll be talking about tonight as the vice chair of OHA is the role that OHA plays and not Hawaiian Homes. So I just wanted to make sure the public understands that, because we will be getting a lot of questions, and we will be focusing on that pro rata share. I know we spoke a little bit about that. What is that percentage? What is the percentage, and what is the value of that revenue that is generated on ceded lands every year?
So there's been various amounts thrown out there. OHA had an independent auditor run an analysis of the revenues that come in. And that's not including the revenues coming in from the airport, because there's a federal law that prohibits that. So based on that, OHA's estimate of the 20%, so there's a law. So the state constitution says that we are entitled to that pro rata share as provided by law. So the legislature passed a law that stipulates that the Office of Hawaiian Affairs gets 20% of the revenue generated within the public land trust. Now, they also passed a law that says that although we're entitled to 20%, we will only receive $15.1 million. By our estimates, the actual 20% amount annually out of the public land trust, the revenues that are generated, is upwards of around $35 million a year, and OHA gets $15.1 million. That's it.
So about $20 million less than what is estimated to be the 20% of the revenues generated on these public trust lands.
Roughly, yeah.
And those monies end up in the account, in another account.
Okay. Yes and no. So the way this works is all of these different agencies, like harbors, University of Hawaii, just to name a few, right? So they take in the revenue that they bring in for the portions of their lands that are ceded lands, and they transfer 20% of that over to the Department of Finance, and then they figure out what the percentage of that is out of the 15.1 million that's supposed to come to OHA. The rest of the money stays in that account. So right, so they pay their full 20%, but we only get 15.1 of that total amount. The rest of it stays in an account with the Department of Finance. And as of right now, where we sit today, there is no law, executive order, or anything as to how that money can be dispersed, can be spent, can be sent, or anything. So it just sits there in that account. As of right now, OHA's estimates are it's just under $22 million that's sitting in that account that no one can touch. In fact, that was a big thing that Senator Kaikohele from Hilo was making a big deal about it last year during the OHA briefings at the state legislature, that there's this $22 million, well, it's up to $22 million now. At the time, I think it was only about $20 million, but it's sitting in this account and no one can touch it. It can't help anybody.
Senator Kahele is on tonight, as well as Senator Kochi. And I apologize if I missed any other elected officials that are on. We never know who's on because this thing scrolls pretty quickly. But
Brendon,
go ahead.
you know this 15 mil that's the portion that's given to OHA, and then the remainder is frozen. How was that number derived at to lock
That
it in?
The
Yeah.
15.1 million negotiation within the legislature.
So from the time that it was negotiated to now, the position hasn't changed. So as that money goes into like this fund, right? Nobody gets to use it. Is
That's
there
correct.
like is there a monitoring entity that watches it to make sure that?
Well, it's just sitting with the Department of Finance. No one can touch it. I mean, even if somebody wanted to, there's no like the Department of Finance isn't just going to turn the money over because somebody comes and says, I want the money.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So right now,
Yeah,
there's no mechanism on the books that would kind of trigger the money to be spent, correct?
There is not. Now, that being said, a little over 2 weeks ago, I started working on a process because of COVID-19, right, and everything that's going on. I started making phone calls to friends of mine in the legislature and around within the community in general, trying to figure out a way to get the governor to add to his emergency proclamation to release that money to OHA specifically and only for COVID-19 relief, right? So I'm not trying to get into a debate about money's owed for the pro rata share of the PLT or any of that. It's just the money sitting there. No one can use it. It is OHA's money. Release it to us and put on any stipulations you want about it. Can only be spent for COVID-19, whatever. But right now, people need help. And that money is sitting there and we can help. And the other thing, Charlie, we have what now, almost 1.3 million people in a state, right? And only about 750,000 of that is Native Hawaiians. Release the money to OHA so OHA can help Native Hawaiians, which alleviates some of the burden from the state, right? If we're helping Hawaiians with that $22 million, then a state can help everybody else.
Okay.
Let me backtrack a little bit, Brendon. As far as the OHA beneficiaries right now, is there any programs in place right now? And we'll get into detail on those fundings, the 22 million, but any programs out there right now available to COVID? Because this discussion really is about COVID, and we have a lot of beneficiaries or Native Hawaiians on the call right now. A lot of them are not working. A lot of them are struggling like everyone else. But we have an entity that was developed specifically to help the beneficiaries of the Native Hawaiians, and that is OHA. And we have a lot of Hawaiians that are struggling right now. We also have a huge budget, or we will have a huge budget shortfall. We've heard the numbers is staggering. It's in the billions, and that the state was trying to do pay cuts for their employees, and the legislature was urging them to start looking at other revenue sources, such as emergency funds, hurricane funds, before they start tapping into employees. I understand you're saying that account is pretty much protected, but before we get to that point, is there anything available now for COVID Native Hawaiians that are struggling because of COVID that OHA has to offer?
Well, so one of the things that OHA did, we infused $450,000 immediately into Kaya Ulu Meals Program, right? So that's specifically meals for kupuna. And it actually started, we began serving directly out of Anahola. So as of right now, I believe it's been 520 communities supported agriculture packages, 2,900 meals, and 1,500 kupuna households. Now, a couple other things that OHA is doing. So we have our Malama loan program, which a lot of our beneficiaries are aware of. So we're working with Bank of Hawaii on well, not Bank of Hawaii, but we're working on how to qualify for deferments on those loans, right? Because people can't pay right now. OHA also owns our corporate our building, right, Nalamakukui. So we're working with Bank of Hawaii, who is our financier for the building, and Colliers, who manages the building, for rent relief for all of the tenants of the building. Now, OHA also has its Emergency Financial Assistance Grant Program, which was awarded to the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. We infused just under $1.7 million into that. Now, that's an ongoing program that OHA always has, right? So that helps with, like, in 2018 with the floods in Paena and Hanalei, and the volcano on Hawaii Island, right? So, but the hoops you have to jump through to get that emergency relief is quite extensive, because it was never designed, although it's an emergency relief fund, it was never designed for something like COVID, right? No one's ever designed anything for something like COVID. So a lot of beneficiaries are having a hard time getting access to that money because of the hoops they have to jump through. Now, OHA is actively working with our administration and our grants department to see what we can do about trimming those hoops away in light of the emergency we're in. But as everybody remembers, right, the scathing audit that OHA went through in 2018. So it's not like we can just cut it all out and hand all that money out. We can't. We just can't, right? And for people that are upset about that, I would remind them about how upset they were with the findings from that audit, right? That OHA was just giving money away and not having any accountability for it. So, but we are working on trying to lessen those so that we can get that money out quicker. But the biggest thing that I believe we're working on is trying to work with the governor's office in getting that $22 million.
Perfect. OHA has an office on Kauai, or is there and some people are asking in the comments, how can they get in contact with for information on the various programs of OHA? Do they have a Kauai office, or is there a number they can call, or a website?
There is an office on Kauai. It's in Lihui, but all of OHA's offices are closed, just like the rest of the state government, right? So you can't go there anyway. I mean, you can, but no one's going to be there. But we have our website, right? www.oha.org. But we also have a specific link for COVID-19 financial resources. So it's www.oha.org/COVID-19.
COVID-19 is one word, no dash.
Yep. No dash,
Okay.
one word.
Okay.
And then,
Donna and all of you else that were asking, www.oha.org/COVID-19. All right, now let's get to this 22 million, because unlike the hoops that they got to go through to get the traditional OHA assistance, this could be made available with very little hoops and direct payments, if you will, for qualified beneficiaries or Native Hawaiians, specifically for COVID.
That's correct.
How would you envision this? Some of the things that this could be used for.
Well, so when I came up with this idea, I started making phone calls. So I talked to Michelle Kauhane at Hawaii Community Assets, right? Because they're the ones doing that COVID relief fund, right? The Aloha Fund that KS is a part of, Bank of Hawaii, First Hawaiian Bank, right? And I forget how much, the astronomical amount of money that they've spent out already out of that program. So I talked to her about it, and so she said, yeah, that they'd be happy to help, right? Because they have the reach and the capacity to dispense these funds. OHA doesn't have that capacity. So for $22 million, they would create our own fund, right? They wouldn't mix our money in with everybody else's, because that fund they have now, anybody in the state of Hawaii can get that money for help, right? So if it were up to me, which it's not, but if it were up to me, I would take about half of that money for immediate relief for families that need money right now, and I would take the other half of the money and create a separate program for long-term, either low interest or zero interest loans for stimulus packages, right? Because families need money now, right? We all know that. But once we start opening things up, people are going to need businesses. They're going to need money for the long term, right? To keep their businesses running, to reopen their doors. So that's how I would envision the money being used. But like I said, that's not my decision, right? I sit on a board of 9, and that would have to be all of our decisions on how that would have to work and come about.
But that would make sense. I mean, that would give you about 10 or 11 million, basically in a revolving fund where people would replenish, and that fund could pretty much go forever. As once that period of time, I mean, I would assume there would be a 3-month, 6-month period where before payments would start, depending on how this COVID crisis, how long it lasts. But once the beneficiaries start repaying this zero or low interest loan, you're basically refilling the well for others to benefit as well.
Well, so OHA already has that, right? That's where our Malama loans comes from, right? We have the Native Hawaiian the Native Hawaiian revolving loan, right? So OHA already has that loan program, and it's substantially funded. So this would be something completely separate. I imagine because the money was, if it is given, right, because it's under an emergency proclamation, I'm gonna guess we're probably not gonna get to keep that money forever. The state's gonna want it back. So as those loans come back in, we'll probably have to give it back, which is fine. However that works, that's fine. But in the meantime, let us help people right now, and we can figure the rest out later.
I agree. I mean, I think, and again, I think the premise of 21 million, 21 or 22 million that the state doesn't have to use as stimulus money or assistance, because this would be covered under this monies that are sitting in some account untouched. I mean, it's just $22 million extra that the state has for everyone else.
Well, and Mel, you said something that caught my ear about which I already knew, right? That they want to raid all these other funds, one of them including the hurricane fund. I don't know if you guys saw the news yesterday, but there's a tropical depression forming in the East Pacific a whole month and a half before hurricane season. Yeah. So they might want to think twice about raiding that fund.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they got to find the money from someplace, and I think they're gonna try to find whatever's available. And I saw that thing looks kind of weird. In fact, the newscaster, the weather guy was it just looks like a weird system, something that's not really normal. So we just gotta wait and see how that plays off. But can you imagine if a hurricane was to come now? I mean, that's just not. We are just not in the position to deal with that right now. Not with COVID.
Well, think about that, Mel. Okay, right? You live on Kauai, right? Remember when Iniki came through and Eva came through, right?
Oh yeah.
And I have lots of friends and family on Kauai, and I remember hurricane showers and what that was when that came through, and people need to remember, and I'm not saying by any means, right, that I want a hurricane tomorrow, but hurricanes have historically always been the best influx into this state's economy. Always. The months and years to follow a massive hurricane, our economy is in a boom because construction goes through the roof. I remember my uncle who lives on Kauai. I want to shout out to Uncle Tuffy out in Hanapepe. But he owned his own drywall company when Iniki came through. And all he saw that whole night when everybody else was scared was dollar signs.
Well, every cloud, no pun intended, but every cloud has a silver lining. And you're stuck in traffic, everybody. This is going on. This has been going on for years now, where people say, we need one out of hurricane. We need one out of hurricane. Like, I don't know. Some of them, I think, are saying it out of just pure frustration, but some of them actually mean that because they recall what happened. We're trying to figure out a way to stop the tourists because our governor is not willing to do what it takes to stop the visitors. Yeah, we cannot stop the planes, but we can do stuff with the visitors to make it so uncomfortable that they won't come. And he's not willing to take that step. But a hurricane takes it out of man's hands. It's in God's hands. There will be no tourists. That I can guarantee. That you don't need the president. You don't need the governor. You just need Mother Nature with a freaking strong wind. And it's just unfortunate because, it is not a fun thing to go through. It is just, I don't ever want to go through that again. But like you said, every cloud has a silver lining, and we just got to wait and see what happens. But we are, regardless of this depression, a month down the road, we are going to be in hurricane season. And we got to be prepared for that. How long does COVID last? That's anybody's guess. We don't know.
Brendon,
we don't know how long this pandemic's going to last, right? But COVID's not going to ever go away.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, the issue, the crisis right now, the unknowns. May 1st, we get the flights come back to Honolulu. That's going to bring a whole new problem. And while the state is scrambling to try to get a system in place to make sure these people are monitored, absent an isolation facility, they will fall through the cracks. It's just human nature. They're not going to sit in their rooms. Some of them will get caught, some of them won't, and it only takes one to create a new picture.
I would say that they've taken some better steps today with the things that they put in place. I do not I'm not the smartest guy in the world, and I don't know why for the life of me they didn't institute these things from the get-go. Because I thought of these things, I mean, hotel room keys are automatic. If you want them to, if you're forcing them to stay in their room for 14 days, then why are they being issued keys? They should get escorted to their room, let in their room, and if they come out of their room like they're not supposed to, they can't get back in. They got to go to the front desk, and now you're caught.
Yeah.
Too simple. We do that when they don't pay their bill.
Yeah,
when
we lock them out of the room. We shut the key off.
I worked at a hotel. I work as a night auditor. Whenever we did and the credit cards didn't go through, you lock them out. Then they got to come front desk. You come front desk, you get another credit card. Good idea. I never thought of that. You are smart. Charles, you look perplexed.
Well, it's been one of those days where if you're gonna implement something, I've always been one to say, and Mel, if you're going to implement something, do it right the first time or don't do it at all. And, we're doing this and we continually playing this game of, okay, we got to modify this, we got to modify that. I mean, what's so hard like getting and I think they posed the question to the Attorney General, right? About getting that bus, meeting them at the airport, getting a bus and just transferring them over to a quarantine facility. Now, having said that, I know our research center here on Kauai, out on the west side, that's what they do when they bring in military personnel for the quarantine period. They don't have the option of going and picking up the provision. It's picked up for them. They go straight from the airport right to their cottage and they're locked down. Everything is done for them. They leave their clothes outside, it's washed. Whatever provisions they want, someone goes to the exchange, gets it for them. But you see, the military doing their part. They want to make sure that because of with all this spread on the aircraft carriers, right? They want to make sure that if these people are carrying, if these individuals coming here are carrying anything, they want to make sure that they're sterile. They're sterile. So I appreciate that. But I think what I wanted to ask Brendon was, because of the shutdown with COVID, how is OHA now operating? Are you folks teleprompting each other, or you folks are not even back in session as far as the board is concerned? How are you folks operating right now?
So although our offices are closed, OHA is still operating. Everyone is teleworking. Our new infrastructure IT system has luckily had already all been in place. So all of our meetings all of the administrative meetings are all being held through Microsoft Teams. Everybody has a Microsoft Teams account through OHA. We have not had any committee or board meetings, even though the governor has waived sunshine law. So, but we, even before the stay-at-home order came, OHA shut down before that out of abundance of safety. Kind of similar like what Mayor Kawakami did, right? He didn't wait for them to tell him to shut down. He just shut down. So OHA did the same thing. So we as a board decided that unless it was an emergency, that we were not gonna meet. Because it's especially at the time, right? The waiver for sunshine law hadn't come through, right? So because OHA is subject to sunshine law, unlike the legislature, we cannot meet, right, without allowing for the public. So I'm guessing, well, no, I'm not guessing, right? If we did happen to get this money, we would have to have a board meeting. So we would have to abide by all of the stipulation. We'd have to still file our agenda 6 days in advance with the Lieutenant Governor's office. We'd have to allow for public testimony via some sort of virtual capability. Right, those are the stipulations that the governor's order for sunshine law have in place. So if we were going to meet, then we would have to still follow all of those stipulations.
Okay.
But as far as OHA as administration, nothing has changed. It's just that everyone is now working from home.
Like pretty much everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's actually, it's pretty interesting now, because I think what the government, every county as well as the state government and even OHA have realized now that we don't need every single employee at the office. We have identified, we want to cut traffic. This is a prime time. In fact, I think if the state and the counties looked at themselves now with an objective lens, you would see that we may have too many employees, and now would be an opportunity, through attrition, to start reducing the size of government. But even without that, just the fact that everybody go work 7:45 for some reason, that's the magic number in state and county government. But if you can take let's say even 20% or 30% of the employees can telework, because we've proven it now, that's 20%, 30% of vehicles off the highways in the morning at 7:45 or at 6 o'clock. Pretty interesting.
Well, comparatively, OHA is very small, right? But from our very first meetings with our CEO, Sylvia Hussey, about going to teleworking, even from those early stages, she was already saying, this might become the new normal. Like we may, and we are finding that we like this better, and people are still being productive. If people are productive at work, they're going to be productive working from home, right? Those that are going to slack off and not work at home, they're the same way at work, right? That's not going to change. But by teleworking, those type of things are going to come out faster. So it might actually even help us manage our personnel better.
I agree.
Well, right now in some of the big cities, that's what they're doing to alleviate congestion, right? They take a whole group, a whole section of government workers now and having them work from home. Same production. In fact, the output is even greater, but that many individuals off the streets. So, loosening up the gridlock, yeah, that's what they wanted to do. And, I made this comment the other night that it's funny that places like India now, you can see mountains that they could never see before because all of this pollution, right? You look at LA, the smog has lifted. It's sort of an eerie feeling that our world is being scrubbed and cleaned. And so that's why I said, with what's happening right now, I hope our administrative branch sees that we have an opportunity to start fresh. Everything is scrubbed. All the mistakes in the past, no repeat them. Let's start getting it right now. And I guess I may have thought too soon when the governor would give his May 31st extension, like, I guess that never worked. But it's one of those things. But I'm glad, there's people like you, Brendon, that up at OHA that can, keep an eye on things, because a question was asked, what about blood quantum? The issue with blood quantum.
So that's one of those things that Mel was saying earlier about the confusion about OHA and Department of Hawaiian Homes. OHA has nothing to do with blood quantum, right? OHA helps Native Hawaiians, period.
Okay.
Right? Blood quantum is specifically only for the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. It doesn't apply to OHA, doesn't apply to Kamehameha Schools, doesn't apply to Liliuokalani Trust, doesn't apply to Lunalilo Trust. That is specific only to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. The easy way for people to remember this, Charlie and Mel, what I tell people is Department of Hawaiian Homelands is federal. That is administered by the Department of Interior, and that all comes from DC.
Okay.
So if anything you want to do here that has to do with here in Hawaii, and none of that has to do with blood quantum.
Okay. Well, good to know. Good to know.
One of the things we talked about. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, I kind of shocked because I went to Kamehameha. I think I just went to school just to learn how to put ketchup on my rice. I've been, I just woke up from one coma and then I get all this information. So I'm thank you very much.
I tell you, it's amazing how many people really don't know. And I gotta tell you, the short chat I had with Brendon this morning was like, this is gonna go well, because I think a lot of people don't know. And for us, it's not Hawaiian. Obviously, I'm not Hawaiian. 100% Portuguese. I probably will never ever walk through the doors of OHA or Hawaiian Homes, but it's pretty interesting. And we did talk about, and I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit, is the visit industry is just taking a hit right now, a major hit, and it's a double-edged sword, right? You don't want the tourists to come because of the threat of the virus, but yet on the other side of that, what percentage of employees in the visit industry, Brendon, would you say is Native Hawaiian?
A huge amount. I don't know any numbers off the top of my head, but a huge amount. A very large portion of Native Hawaiians work in the hospitality industry, and that's not just the visitor industry, right? That's restaurants, bars, which are all also touched by the visitor industry, right? We have so many restaurants and bars because of the visitor industry. So, Native Hawaiians are hugely impacted by this because a large portion of them depend on the hospitality industry, especially on the neighbor islands.
I think you make a really good clarification. A lot of us, like myself, mistakenly say the visitor industry, but it really isn't. It is the hospitality industry. It is the servers, the bartenders and the bartendresses. It is the people that are not necessarily serving visitors every day. It's the service industry, I guess. All of these things that are tied in that the visitors actually participate in, but not solely. So that's a really, really good point. So, and again, just getting back to this 22 million, there's a lot of people that could benefit because these employees are out of a job, and then the state is having a difficult time trying to get them the checks because of an outdated system. I was watching the news the other morning. They had this geek, and I'll call him a geek because he calls himself the geek. I forget his name, but he works for Hawaii Information Service. He's the computer expert, and he's on the news relatively frequently to talk about updates in the tech world. But he said that our system is still a DOS-based COBOL system. I know that stuff still exists, but he said it's really good at processing large amounts of raw data, which is what the unemployment system is. But there are many new systems that could do the trick. And he's saying there's not much more you can do to upgrade what we have, because we recently did an upgrade with the payroll and so forth. You really got to get a whole new system, which in fact is going to take a lot of money and a lot of time. So we stuck with what we got, but this 22 million, and let's just say half of it, like you would do with it, could really be some much needed relief for our Native Hawaiians. And I'm hoping, I know Senator Kochi's on, and I know Senator Kahele is on. I know that Governor Ige sends his people to watch this after we go off the air. They all do. They all do. I tell you, I'm not saying that they get their ideas from us, but I think they get their ideas from us because oftentimes the stuff, and then we're taking stuff from the community. This ain't just Mel and Charlie's ideas. We talk about the stuff people
Hey,
are
Mel,
telling us.
Mel.
A lot of smart people.
Mel,
Yeah.
I tell you right now, I know they take the ideas from us because, like you said, the system is old, right? You know how you
Yeah.
can tell? A lot of the computers at the state building get white out on the screen. That's how I know the system is old.
Mel, you said Senator Kochi and Senator Kohele are on. They know about our ask for the money. And my understanding is that Senator Kochi is very much in favor of this happening. Obviously, of course, Senator Kohele is as well. The ask has been made through several different avenues as well. I believe the Native Hawaiian Caucus at the legislature from Representative Daniel Holt and Senator Jarrett Keokalole has made the ask. I know that Lieutenant Governor Josh Green has made the ask. And I believe OHA has now finally sent an official letter to the governor as well making the ask. I would have done it myself, but that's not really my place to do that. According to our own bylaws and rules at OHA, the chair of the board, Colette Machado, she's the one who deals with the governor. So I did share my idea with the chair. And so I believe that an official letter from her has now been sent to the governor.
I would ask the governor for you, but I think that would send you back 5 yards. I think right now you probably went the Charlie, I understand, is really good buddies with the governor. So maybe he could, and he's Hawaiian too. Charlie's Hawaiian. Maybe he can get it.
Well, like Charlie said earlier, him and Steph, they've known me a long time, and a lot of people at the legislature were telling me, just go ask the governor. And as Charlie cannot tell, that's just not me. It falls to the chair to deal with the governor, and I'm going to leave it where I'm going to follow the process that we have in place.
It's really hard. I mean, I love the governor. You know that, Mel. But it's just that when I go up to see him, I don't know if he's standing or sitting because I just see the top of his head. You know what I mean? So. I'm sorry, David. I'm sorry.
He went there.
Yeah, I went.
I mean, my wife and I, has a dinner with the governor and his wife. We've shared tables at several functions. He's a very nice guy, very cordial guy. And but that I always tell people, there's a line between the professional relationship and the professional relationship. And none of what I say, he should not be taking it personal. I mean, I'm sure he does. I'm sure his staff does. But at the end of the day, if I believe there may be a better way, or at least have a discussion about something, or just letting him know what his constituents here on Kauai are saying and feeling, he shouldn't take it personal. It just shouldn't. But I can only imagine how much stress that guy is under every day, having to be the traffic cop for all the different departments that's working hard, like every mayor in our county. So I understand the job isn't easy, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of people that are not elected, that are not appointed, that have lived here long enough to understand the culture and the people, that have some really, really, really brilliant ideas. And I think those all are worthy of being discussed and heard at the Capitol. I really do, and that's what we try to do with this show, is to get it out there.
Hey, Mel, I'm reading some of the comments coming in on your guys' watch party. And so, yeah, there is that confusion between OHA and DHHL. So the question was asked, so the chairperson for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs is Trustee Colette Machado from Molokai. William Aila is the chairperson for the Department of Hawaiian Homes. And he is appointed by the governor, whereas your OHA trustees are run in a statewide election.
Good point. Everybody, elections coming up as well. And, everybody gets that OHA ballot. Nobody knows who's on it. Nobody knows the people running. But, everybody has a vote in OHA.
Well, and there's four seats up this year. So your guys' seat, Kauai's seat, is up this year, which is currently Trustee Dan Ahuna. class of 85 Kamehameha schools. And Molokai, so Chairperson Colette Machado is up this year for re-election. Hawaii Island will be having a brand new trustee because Trustee Robert Lindsay will not be seeking re-election. He's retiring, and one at-large seat is up.
Awesome.
Wow, awesome.
By the way, the geek's name is Ryan Ozawa. Someone just posted that in the comments. Ryan Ozawa, the computer geek. So one of the pretty damn intelligent guy. And, he was kind of flabbergasted that we still have that archaic system. But, it was sufficient for the normal flow of unemployment applications or claims that we're doing every week prior to COVID. So, this is not a dig on the administration. But, again, life will be different when this passes, and it will pass.
Yeah.
But life will be different
exactly.
for everybody.
Mel, I tell you, I think what this whole pandemic has shown me is that the state really needs to take advantage, and maybe this is something for OHA to think about as well, that they gotta start getting their think tanks together, because you gotta now really stay ahead of all that's happening. Because you remember when the pandemic first hit Hawaii, we had this discussion, and it was almost, everything we heard from people high above, it almost had the appearance that everybody got caught flat-footed. And yet, we know back in 2003, we used to discuss this kind of stuff, that should something happen, what we're going to do. So I think, this is a chance, like I said, everything getting scrubbed clean, we can really make a dent and move forward in the right way, do them all in the right direction.
Yeah, I agree, Mel. I agree, Charlie. And my office has been working since I got into office with a lot of expanding the tech sector here in Hawaii, expanding not just agriculture, but the tech agriculture sector, which I didn't really know much about. But one of my aides, Zuri Aki, that's kind of his deal. And he's been really educating me a lot about it, on how integral the tech sector has become in agriculture. And he's really shown me how that can be a really big thing here in Hawaii, and it now more than ever, it's shown that our reliance on one avenue of income in the state is completely detrimental to the state. We're seeing a protracted long way of it hurting us now, but it's hurt us in the past too, right? When Iniki came through, it hurt us, right? Luckily, we had construction to come in and fill that void, but it hurt the visitor industry. 9/11, right? The visitor industry collapsed after 9/11 for a good while, and our state economy paid for it for a good while, and we didn't have construction to fill that gap. So, it's not like this is the first time that the state has seen a financial downfall because of our reliance on the visitor industry.
Let me ask you something. Is OHA considering or looking at, you talked about the tech work in our agriculture, but sustainability now, because we're looking at with all the programs and that we started here on Kauai, like from farm to schools with the DOE, farm to state facilities now. So we don't have to be too reliant upon bringing it in from the outside. We have farmers that can grow masses of a product that we can use here in the islands. Has OHA talk with any of those farmers, or kind of looking at direction of assisting in that way?
We have farmers. Yeah, we have. In fact, a lot of their funding through various grants and loans come from OHA. So we are actively helping in that way. But it's funny, how you say, you can tell things are old. Back before we became a state, and I would say probably before the 70s, that's how we fed the state. A large portion of it was here. Although we shipped a lot of stuff in, we still fed a lot of the stuff from here. and they just deemed it too expensive at some point, and now we're where we're at, and now they want to go back to the way it was. Just like Charlie, you remember, right? I mean, people tell me, you're young. Well, no, actually, I'm going to be 51 next month, so I'm not young. But when I was a kid,
you're young.
when I was a kid, straws were paper.
Yeah.
Never had plastic bags. Bags were paper, and then they got rid of it because they said we're killing trees. And now everything's paper again.
Yeah. The only thing I worry, right? The plastic to paper, right? And I told myself, man, if toilet paper ever go from paper to plastic, that's it. I quit. I quit.
If you look back at we're all here because of the sugar plantations, right? We are all here because of the sugar plantations, and well, maybe not the Hawaiians, but the Portuguese are, and the Chinese, and the Filipinos, and the Japanese. But anyway, if not for the subsidies that the government provided, that plantation would have been out of business a long time ago. But back then, the emphasis was really focused on plantations, and not just because of jobs, but because of the land, the maintenance of the land, the ditches, the irrigation systems, all well maintained. But that all disappeared, and unless this state decides to, and organizations like OHA decides to subsidize farming and give people an opportunity or a chance to succeed in farming, I think to replace tourism, absolutely not, but to complement or to get some of our kids. I know some people posting, no way these kids going to work in farming. Well, yeah, the old farming, the pineapple plantations, when the kids used to go up there in the summertime, go lanai and just work their butts off. But today, as you talked about,
all my cousins did it.
Yeah, I know. I was blessed. I never had to go, but it was worse than boot camp, from what I understand. But when you talked about the advancements in agriculture, the industries that are within the agriculture industry, the tech industry, all of these things that the kids can get interested in, if we can make it viable, if we can allow farmers to make a living, then I think we can, reinvigorate that industry. But the way we're going right now, and then one more thing you talked about was the life TSA. You talked about 9/11 TSA. Who knew? Prior to 9/11, who would even think that, you couldn't walk up to the counter and just buy a ticket? You never need to show an ID. Just give them cash. You got your coupon booklet. You was on the plane. And today you got to have more shoes. You cannot take half the stuff that you could before. Your poi get confiscated sometimes, kololo. But after 9/11, we didn't think that was going to be permanent. We knew that was going to happen because of the threat of terrorism. I think we've killed every terrorist there was, but we still have TSA, and we still have, in fact, you go to Honolulu Airport now, you get on dog every so often that's sniffing all your body, and the line goes all the way down the terminal because of that. It's just the way of life now. It's changed, and I think after COVID, after this pandemic, we're going to see some changes as well. And I hope it's going to be it'll be frustrating at first, but then after a while it becomes just like TSA. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
I agree.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's gonna be a lot of things that come out of this are gonna be our new normal for a while.
And we don't even know. I mean, everything is looking really good right now. We don't know what the future holds for this pandemic, and we hope that this thing rides it out and we end up in a better place. I pray for that every single day. But we are at the end of our hour. Brendon, anything you want to tell the world? We got a ton of people watching. There'll be much more watching tomorrow. Anything you want to share? Just imagine if the governor was watching, because he will be tonight after they have their dinner. Him and the wife gonna watch this. What would you tell the governor right now?
Well, if it's one thing I want to tell the governor, it would be you gotta find other people to listen to, because the people you're listening to now are just not leading you in the right direction. And we've been extremely I truly believe this. We've been extremely fortunate, and we have dodged a massive bullet to have had the small impact that we have had as far as cases and deaths. And on that note, Charlie, my condolences to you and your family on the loss of your brother. You know, and when people say to me, you know, this isn't that big a deal, more people die from influenza, blah blah blah, and I tell them, you know anybody who died? Because I do. So no, this is real, and people die. So I will tell the governor, you gotta find out somebody else to listen to, because this is just, and like I said, we've dodged the bullet. We've been extremely fortunate with the lack of doing what needed to be done when it needed to be done, that we got hit as little as we did. You know, props to your guys' mayor, to Mayor Kawakami. You know, he slammed his fist down, and he slammed it hard, and Kauai's better for it.
Mhm. Yep.
No disagreement there, my friend. We talked about that last night when we went through our timeline, and that basically he kicked it off for the state. He kicked it off, and the next day the governor, you know, he tried, but yeah, you know, we're blessed to have Mayor Kawakami here, and you know, the numbers don't lie. So,
Yeah.
Charles.
Well, you know, I first would like to say thank you, Brendon, for taking the opportunity. You know, we try to
Thank
bring
you.
on different guests, you know, throughout the entire time that we're doing this. And when Mel and I first started this, we didn't know how popular it was going to be, because, you know, our whole premise was to get the information out. And so, you know, we're looking through who we had on, and there was one component, and I'm going to be selfish when I say this, you know, being Hawaiian, I said, hey, you know, I wanted to get somebody from OHA. And so that's why I reached out to you. And I just want to thank you, you know, to kind of even clarifying a lot of stuff for me, because, you know, I wasn't too on understanding about the monies, how the thing was chopped up, why certain portion was left over there, another portion wasn't touched. And, you know, the issue with blood quantum as opposed from DHHL to OHA. But you kind of clarified everything for me. So, and, you know, you young boy, I young, you know, I'm 61 now, but hey, never too old to teach a old dog new tricks. You know what I mean? I just got to make sure that they glue my dentures when I start barking. You know what I mean? So, but thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, you guys. I thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, man. I think you educated a lot of people tonight, including myself. I know we had a couple of comments from our dear friend Sherry. Email, get Dan Ahuna on. I'll definitely reach out to Dan, and Dan can share with us as well. You know, this, like I said, Charlie, we're talking about, you know, what we need to bring new information. We cannot just bring and rehash the same information with different people. And then he made the suggestion, and great choice, Charlie, and thanks, Brendon.
Well, you know what my goal is, and, you know, for our viewers, I think we're gonna burn up the viewership if I'm able to bring somebody from the unemployment division on next week.
You know, we have open invitations to a few people. I think a lot of them are afraid to come on, only because it's a tough place to be if you're not in a happy position. Unemployment right now, no one's happy about that. And it's unfortunate, because I would love to have a representative from the unemployment. I would love to have a representative from the Department of Transportation. I have sent invites to several people, and you know, a few of them haven't responded. So, but that's fine. That's fine. We'll fill the slots with people that are, and again, that have frontline knowledge of different aspects of this pandemic. So,
Hey, Mel. Mel, you want somebody from unemployment? I know a lot of the legislators are volunteering to be part of that phone bank, and so they've gone through extensive training. Senator Thielen, she's been posting a bunch of stuff about the stuff that they've been trained on. I saw on the news, I saw on Representative Aaron Johansson down there being trained. Try to reach out to one of them and see if they'll come on. They might not be able to answer all the questions, but they might be able to answer a bunch of them, because they've gone through the training down there to be part of the intake process.
Yeah,
You know, I think
they brought on 700 people, I believe,
Yeah.
to assist. But again, as the geek was saying, Ryan, that you got all this manual input that's coming in, but there's still that log jam, because the computer or the mainframe cannot talk to all these computers at the same time. And that
Right.
was how he
No,
he explained it.
that's what Senator Thielen was saying in her post too, about the antiquated system, and she was saying and taking blame for it too, saying how they as the legislature, excuse me, have failed, because they haven't kept the infrastructure of our systems current.
Well, I think we go one step further, knowing that the system is ancient, the way it's described by this geek. I would have thought someone from the unemployment would have at least had someone with expertise come in and just say yay or nay. We're gonna get on backlog. The system not going to handle. I think a lot of it was put in there. It was put out in the media to show, hey, we got all these computers, like it was a big hurrah, 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 only to fail. And I just wish somebody would have been honest with the people and say, hey, even though we get all these computer terminals, the thing not going to work that great. What you think, Mel?
I cannot. That's it. I mean, we knew from the beginning. Yeah, they said no, we're going to bring in 2 more servers. 2 more servers. Then they said, no, we're going to go toss it up into the cloud. No, the system, the mainframe has to be changed.
DOS cannot talk to the cloud.
Not
DOS is from the
DOS.
80s. The internet didn't even exist yet.
DOS is, I mean, our system in the county, the AS400, I think that's kind of the system most municipalities use is DOS based, but you're not dealing with what these guys are dealing with. DOS is still a great system, but not when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of unemployment claims. So, again, we will learn from this and we will be better and we will be stronger. And I believe that with all my heart. So, anyway, Charles.
Well, every night, what we do is we want to do our part to flatten the curve, Brendon. And because you're a special guest, we've created a song that if we get the message out and we're not able to flatten the curve, then what we're going to do is we're going to play for you and we're going to flatten your ears until you can help us flatten the curve. So I'm going to ask you to.
Since we started this, we've been trying to the same message. The same message was stay home. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Keep 6 feet away. Just follow the rules. And no one listens. No one listens. So we tried all kinds of stuff and everything failed. So Charlie and I came up with this method that if you continue to ignore the rules and continue to not flatten the curve, then we will flatten your ears. Charles?
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Surprise guest. You don't know, because we don't know, but we'll find one. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. God bless. Thanks, Brendon. See you next time.
Stay home.
Take
Stay
care. God
safe.
bless. Love you guys.